It's Bridget here. In this video, we're going to talk about the top 3 mistakes that designers specifically make on Upwork when applying to job posts. Now, I'm a designer with over a decade of experience, and I use the Upwork for both finding clients, but also for recruiting a lot of designers and contractors. And it's very clear that a lot of designers are making mistakes that can be very easily avoidable in order to make the experience so much easier and get clients in a faster, more efficient way. Let's start with the first one, and that is that your application simply is not great. And by that, I'm referring to the fact that a lot of the times, whenever I posted a job for a designer, there's all sorts of different designers that are going to reply with this very generic and non-relevant application in a text format. And for the very most part, you want to look at the different job postings and think about how can I bring value to that client as soon as possible, and how can I communicate that in a very short and fast way. So that is going to be the premise, and the recommendation that I personally have for you is to record a short 30-second to 60-second Loom video where you basically introduce yourself and you explain how you could potentially bring value to their table in a very short amount of time. So basically, you want to keep this video short because it's not going to be something that a client is going to look at for a lot of minutes. So you definitely want to keep it short and sweet. But by doing that, you are essentially cutting through the noise because all the applications are in text format. But whenever I received a Loom video, I would pretty much open it 100% of the times because you're going to become a real person in a pool of just text and profile images. So that is the first element and the reason why you want to create a Loom video in order to stand out of the crowd. But the second one is you can communicate and grab attention in a faster way. So you can basically communicate the value that you can deliver in a more efficient way. You can probably like open up a website that you worked which was similar to the one that they requested, and you can guide them through. So this is going to be very efficient. And it loops down to the second point, which is you don't need to apply to each and every single job. So this is actually very important to be selective and to really take your time to think through, is this a job which I could genuinely bring value, and I think that I would work well with that client? Because the reality is on Upwork, there's a lot of clients which are simply not worth your time, for the lack of better words. And to put it mildly, you wanted to focus on clients who are more likely to have money and success in business. So you probably want to target countries like Canada, United States, United Kingdom. So those are kind of like the sweet spot. And also clients who are looking to invest a good amount of money in design services. So you want to avoid the cheap clients or the clients that are expecting so much for so little. And that's going to be very, very useful in generally speaking, just building a successful business. My recommendation is, since you have X amount of connects, is to really focus just on applying to clients that you know that you're going to be a good fit. And especially with this approach, you can invest more into, for example, boosting your post. But if it's a boosted post with a Loom video, you're really going to stand out of the crowd. So it's a perfect combo, and it's something which I highly recommend you to consider. The point that I want to have across is the offer. Now, the offer is super important because if you have a poor offer, no matter how good you are at getting visibility, you're not going to convert clients. So one thing which is actually very important and especially useful for beginners on Upwork is to give a very big discount on a small trial that you can do initially. And by doing that, you're going to undercut all of the other freelancers who are asking maybe significant money up front. And I know this is not going to work for everybody. This is especially going to work for junior designers or designers who are looking to get that those first reviews on Upwork. But it really helps to basically put it as almost as client acquisition cost. The fact that on the very first initial trial project, you're not going to make much money. And the reason is simple. This is a trust-based business. So getting trust is going to be your number one priority when it comes to finding a client. But the great thing about it is that if you find a client which is qualified, and I have an entire video on sales and how to qualify clients, I already mentioned some things over here, but there's so much more to uncover on this topic. But basically, once you find a qualified client, the most important thing is to get them to trust you as soon as possible, because then the chances of recurring work and also referrals is going to be almost exponential. So you're going to have a great time if you actually can start getting traction in this way. So the offer is going to be very, very important. And I'm not saying that you necessarily need to go with a low paid offer. You can also just package it in an angle which is different than most freelancers. So you're going to need to be more creative in this side of things. And I actually have ideas that I recently shared to a student of my course about. But regardless of that, the thing which you want to keep in mind is to always think about yourself from the hiring perspective. And one exercise that you can literally do is you can sign up for a company account, for a client account. And what you can do is to make a job posting that you're looking for a designer. So you can actually start seeing from a hiring perspective how that looks, and you can creatively reverse engineer your specific profile and applications in order to stand out more from the crowd. So I hope this video was helpful. Again, Upwork, I think it's one piece of the puzzle. I think it's going to work for some designers out there in specific situations, but ideally you want to pair it with other client acquisition methods and strategies, because that is going to basically optimize your time and really maximize the chances of you finding clients. So if you're interested in more about that, feel free to check out the other videos on the channel. And also I am leaving a free training on how to get started in design in this year. So feel free to check it out in the description, and I'll see you in the very next video.